Okay guys, I told you I'd be back with another video on budget or inexpensive or cheap fragrances, and today I'm talking about three fragrances from the house of Mandarina Duck, and it's from a collection called the Duckers. Those fragrances are Freedomland, this one right here. Then there's also Resort Lovers, this one right here. Finally, there's Into the Jungle, this one right here. They're currently selling for around $30 each. Those of you that are on a budget, listen in and find out all about these three fragrances from Mandarina Duck. It's a designer from Italy, mostly focusing or making, accessories and luggage and things like that. So if you don't know about Mandarina Duck, but if you are a follower of my channel, you probably heard me speak about Mandarina Duck Black Extreme and of course the original Black. So anyway, I'll tell you all about the Duckers, Freedomland, Resort Lovers, and also Into the Jungle coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about Mandarina Duck's The Duckers collection of fragrances, Freedomland, Resort Lovers, and also Into the Jungle. There's three genderless fragrances, so no gender behind them, but I feel like one of them might lean a little masculine and one might lean a little feminine, and I'll tell you all about them. So they're basically gender bending fragrances, and there's something unique about them. You're supposed to be able to spray them horizontally and vertically, which is kind of funky. According to their website, that's what they say. But I found out about these last year, early December, and wanted to get the video out late last year, but I wasn't able to, and I bought them around $32 each, but now the prices have gone down to $30 each. And those of you that are on a budget and are looking for fun and playful, quirky fragrances, one fruity, one powdery, one citrus aromatic, then probably they'll appeal to you. And what also I'm going to do, each time I'm going to talk to you about each of the fragrances, I'm going to recommend one or two other fragrances that the fragrance reminds me of that might be more popular. Anyway, before I get to the fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below. And also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Freedomland, this one right here. As you can see, it's kind of very, they're fun and playful, and I think that's kind of what stood out. I somehow ended up catching info about these fragrances, and I liked the labels, and I thought, you know what, they're so inexpensive, I'm just going to go buy them. They're 32 bucks each. So Freedomland comes in a box like this, and then this is what's on the back. I'm going to quickly show you the boxes. Inside, it's here, and the bottle fits in here like non-traditionally this way. They've kind of got it going this way because you're supposed to be able to spray it that way, like that. That's how the bottle sits in there. And when you go to their website, you go to Mandarina Duck Fragrances, you can see some videos about this collection. This is Freedomland 2020 launch. I don't know their suggested retail prices because I don't see anyone selling them here. But the very first time I learned about Mandarina Duck was at Barney's, and they used to sell this particular fragrance and a few others, Mandarina Duck Black. This one was one I discovered much later. If you don't know those, do check them out. But Freedomland, I don't know what the suggested retail price is, but as I said, currently on FragranceNet, it's $30, and I have a link in the info box. But this is created by a perfumer by the name of Carine Boin, or Boin. This is a fruit bomb, but the notes are pineapple, basil, strawberry, mint, Brazilian orange, Italian lemon for top notes, heart notes, Piña Colada, coconut milk, jasmine, lychee fruit. Finally, in the base notes, Pisco sour, cherry, Heliotrope, musk. So there was a time I was drinking quite a bit of Pisco sours. It was kind of trendy here in the late 2000s, very early 2010s, and I liked them, but they started getting really, really sour for me, and I stopped drinking them. But the very first time I'm seeing Pisco sour show up in this fragrance. But for me, it's very, very tropical. It's very, very fruity. I don't get much boozy. I mean, they're mentioning the Piña Colada, which is a cocktail, the Pisco Sour, which is a cocktail, but I think those are made with, especially the Pisco Sour, I don't think they're darker spirits. I think they're clear spirits. I'm not 100% sure though. But either way, they don't come off boozy. This fragrance does not come off boozy, but for me, it's a very, very tropical and fruity fragrance. Now, I don't know how men or you guys as a man or a woman, I don't know how you guys interpret fruity fragrances. This might come off a little bit feminine, a little bit, not too much, because in the end it's fruits, and fruits, I don't find any gender associated with them. There are no real flowers listed, so there's aromatic notes, lots of citruses, and lots of fruits, as I said. But I am also getting bananas from it, and there's no bananas mentioned in there. But of course it's coconut milk, and Piña Colada has coconuts, and so there's some more dense kind of fruits touches in here that probably is kind of reminding me of bananas. But overall though, it's a fun fragrance. It's a fun and playful fragrance. It's quirky as well. It's very, very fruity. Fruity fragrances I find to be very uplifting and fun and happy. So there's a happiness about it. And as you can see from the artwork on this one, it's, kind of psychedelic, 60s looking. So in the end, I think that's kind of what it is. Very, very trippy kind of experience with all the different colorful fruits and things like that. Do I recommend it? Heck yes, I do. For 30 bucks to smell fruity, I mean, that came out kind of weird or odd, but yes, I like fruity fragrances. This one is ultra fruity and ultra tropical, not necessarily boozy or floral, but as I said, there's some aromatic touches here with this one as well, and it does get musky a little bit. So that is the Duckers from Mandarina Duck called Freedomland, and I'm going to give you two fragrances that it might be, not necessarily identical, but if you're fans of this, you might like that. So Rouge Trafalgar is one. There's definitely similarities somewhat to Rouge Trafalgar. And then Melagrana from Bottega Veneta. Dior, Bottega Veneta. So these are fruity fragrances. This one goes more green. I don't think I got any green touches from Freedomland. I don't experience it, but maybe a little bit under there because it has the mint note in there. So maybe a little bit. But for me, these two don't go tropical. So in the end, they're not identical, but as fruity fragrances, those are definitely fruity, and this is a fruit bomb, as I said, tropical fruit bomb. Anyway, that is Freedomland. All right, guys, this next one I think is a little more feminine leaning than masculine leaning once again. And even though earlier I said only one leans feminine, I think the fruity one does sort of lean feminine as well, but I personally don't. But this is Resort Lovers. So this one comes in the blue colorful, again, sort of trippy-esque design. I'm going to show you the box once again. Inside it's yellow. All of them are yellow. But this is a 2020 launch. Once again, it's $30. Currently selling at discount in FragranceNet. I have a link in the info box. You can take advantage of buying this if you're curious about it. Now, this one is created by Veronica Nyberg, the perfumer. And for notes with this one, you've got Aldehydes, Bergamot, Violet Leaves for top notes. Heart notes features Lily of the Valley, Rose, Osmanthus. Base notes, Cypriol, Tonka bean, and Patchouli. Now for this one, immediately when I smelled it, it reminded me of another fragrance. I'm like, wow, what's that fragrance? I recently smelled it. I recently reviewed it. So I had to think about it a little bit. I started wearing it and testing it out. But for me, this is powdery, very, very woody. And it's got aldehydes in it, so it's aldehydic at the same time. And for me, I think aldehydes tends to go slightly powdery sometimes. Powdery fizz, sparkling effervescence touches. But very, very floral. This is a very white flowery and earthy. There's earthiness in here and slight soapiness as well. Now, for me, all of the fragrances I got probably anywhere from the ballpark of 4.5 hours to 6.5 hours, depending on the day I wore them. So they're not really loud fragrances. They're not like wimps either. They have some intensity to them. They've got some depth. And for me, even though it's a designer, these are non-conventional designer-esque fragrances. For me, they're kind of out there. They're unique. They're niche style. And that's what I think about them. Quality-wise, I don't know what kind of notes they're using to create these. Are they synthetic? Are they, natural? Most likely it's a combination of both. But for $30, as I said, I think they do smell great. So this one in the end is very, very powdery to me. It smells like powder, woody powder, pretty much, with aldehydic touches. That's what pretty much I get with this one. I don't get a lot of soapiness, but a little bit here and there comes in. And then sometimes aldehydes does have the soapy touch. That's why I was saying it. And in the end, ends up being musky on me. So do I love this one? it depends on if you like powdery fragrances. I think if you appreciate powdery fragrances, then you will enjoy this one, because in the end, it reminds me of these two fragrances. I'll show you. So this is the fragrance that had come out last year that I reviewed. It's called Musk Invisible by Juliet Has a Gun. So it really reminds me, I mean, as soon as I smelled it, I remembered something it reminded me of. I couldn't pinpoint it at the time, but as soon as I wore it a few more times, I immediately thought, okay, it's Musk Invisible. It's a powder musk. This is musky and powdery, but you know what? It also reminds me of this Taint de Neige a little bit. Not too much, a little bit. So in the end, both of them are not identical with Resort Lovers, but if you're looking for alternatives to these two fragrances, Musk Invisible and Taint de Neige, as powdery fragrances, I think this is a great alternative for $30. And you have that funky looking bottle, as you can see. Now, I don't get this whole spraying it. I spray my bottles like that anyway, so they're making a they're making a big deal out of spraying it two different ways. So I think it's a kind of a, I don't know. I don't want to give them any. I mean, I think it's just a little weird that they are saying it. That's just my opinion. Either way, though, this is a great alternative for those two fragrances, Musk Invisible and Taint de Neige, and I can't believe how close it reminds me of Musk Invisible. I mean, is it a clone? I don't know. They both came out around 2020, so who copied who? I don't know, but anyway, this is Mandarina the Duckers Resort Lovers. That's the second of the 3 fragrances from this collection. And last but not least, it's Mandarina the Duckers Into the Jungle. Now, I don't know if you've got the Duckers thing. I think the Duckers comes from Mandarina Duck. That's where the name comes from. I believe that's what I'm thinking. But Into the Jungle is a 2020 launch, and as I said, all 3 fragrances are currently at FragranceNet for $30 approximately at the time I shot this video. I personally bought them myself for around $32, so the price had gone down a little bit more. Perfumer here is Marion Costero, and for this one, the notes are Italian lemon, tangerine, lavender, rhubarb, rosemary for top notes. Heart notes are violet, cherry blossom, rose, peony, gardenia. Finally, in the base notes, it's Haitian vetiver, oak moss, amber, and musk. Now, this one to me is the most conventional, most designer-esque release, because it reminds me of a very popular men's designer fragrance. I'll let you know what it is at the end. It doesn't have a lot of edge to it. It's not fun and playful like the first one. It's not musky and woody and aldehydic like the second one. It just reminds me of a designer fragrance and also masculine leaning, like male leaning fragrance. So this one I feel like the other 2 might be slightly feminine leaning unisex fragrances. This one might be slightly masculine leaning unisex fragrance. But fragrance starts off with the citruses at the top, and there's some aromatic touches of the lavender when you spray it. It's very, very citrusy and aromatic as a whole fragrance. There's some slight watery ozonic touches from violet in here, and floral touches in the heart notes. It gets floral, but it's not an overly floral fragrance experience. The floral parts or the aspects of this fragrance are short-lived. And it finally dries down to a bit of a oak mossy vetiver fragrance with a little bit of musk in the end. And as I said, this is a very citrusy aromatic fragrance, and the fragrance it reminds me of, I didn't have 2 fragrances, I only have one, is this one. It's Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo, or I guess I can also say the original Armani Acqua di Gio, but to me it reminds me of Profumo more, because there's some dark notes in the there's some dark notes in the Profumo that this one also has, so it reminds me of it. In the end, I think it can be a great alternative for Acqua di Gio Profumo. For $30 it is, because Acqua di Gio Profumo rarely goes down under $75 for 100 ml, so this is less than half the price that I usually find it for. But again, this one for me, it's the most underwhelming. I wouldn't call it underwhelming, disappointing, I would say, because it reminds me so much of one fragrance. I mean, it really does remind me of this one, even though they're not identical. It hints at it a lot, and even though this one is an aquatic, this one doesn't have aquatic notes. I think the violet note it has ozonic touches. Even though it doesn't say it's violet leaves versus violets are different smells, I get some ozonic watery touches in here that I feel like kind of goes into the aquatic, watery direction. So I think it's a pleasant fragrance. It's just not the wow fragrance for me. I think this is the most fun and playful one. I really like this one. This one, I feel like this one, you know, is the one that's really, really similar to those two fragrances, especially Musk Invisible. And then this one is kind of a letdown, but I think I love the bottle of this one, as you can see right here. It's a fun, these labels are fun, I have to be honest. I didn't show you the bottle, the box for the green one, Into the Jungle. But once again, it's very, very similar. It's got the yellow. And then it's, you know, fun print work. I like the inspiration and the concept behind it. They're not like anything groundbreaking as far as fragrances go. I personally wouldn't buy these retail, whatever the retail price is. They're probably around you know, $100 for 100 ml. But at $30 for each, you get 3 fragrances for under $100. So I feel like these are great value for the price point. I feel like also some cheap fragrances do smell cheap. These do not. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't smell. They do not smell synthetic, because they might come off synthetic to some people. But in the end, I think they're quality made, and they've done a pretty good job with these fragrances. They've used some perfumers from really high-end perfumer boutiques like Givaudan and Maine to create these fragrances. So most likely they're using high quality you know, materials or notes to create them. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the 3 Mandarina the Duckers fragrances: Freedomland, Resort Lovers, and of course Into the Jungle, the last fragrance I spoke to you about. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this brand. Do you know this brand? Did you know that they are an accessories designer based out of Italy? I've seen some of their stores when I travel to Italy, but I've gone by them and I've not really gone inside, but I've never seen their fragrances in their stores, so I don't know why they wouldn't have their fragrances in their stores. But they do have a website. Go check out their fragrances. Sadly, this is discontinued, but this particular one is still sold on their website. They do show it. It's not sold on their website because there are several countries they cater to on the website. Like you can order or whatever. They didn't have a USA section of the website, so I didn't look into how to buy. But sadly, these are not sold at any stores. I haven't seen them, but as I said, they are sold at FragranceNet. You can go buy them currently for that price point, because I think they're definitely worth it. And for $30 for 100 ml, I feel like it's less than, you know, what a decant would cost. So I gave you some you know, options that are similar to, they're not identical. So in the end, if you like this smell, you might like that smell, kind of a thing. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you are a fan of Mandarina Duck fragrances, let me know, put some comments down. If you're a fan of their accessories and luggage you know, products and things like that, also let me know. I don't own any of those, just their fragrances obviously. And then also let me know what you think about these fragrances. How do they sound to you? And what do you think about the price point? Put some comments down so I can find out. Other than that, I appreciate you tuning in today. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.